Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you all so much for joining us today. We stand here united today and every day in our universal call to speak out against injustices raining down on our neighbors in our state and throughout the country. As we gather here today, I want to pause to thank all of the advocates who have been doing the work of protecting and helping our immigrant and refugee communities for years and years, not just this week, but for decades of work that our advocates have provided to make sure that people who move to this great state are able to have an opportunity for a great, stable life. I want to invite us, before we begin with our speeches formally, to take a moment of silence. We will pause in silence to honor the lives of those who have been lost at the hands of ICE. We will pause in silence to honor those who are being detained. And we will pause in silence to honor the families and the loved ones who grieve their friends and family's absence. So please join me in a moment of silence. Amen. It's now my great privilege and honor to introduce to you Georgia's first Muslim lawmaker. Senator Sheikh Raman is an incredible friend, has been a great ally and voice with me in the work that I do, and I'm honored to be able to stand by him and beside him as he represents his community and so many others. So with that, I turn it over to Senator Raman.
Thank you, appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you to my fellow senators, the Georgians standing behind us today, and to all of you for being here. I'm State Senator Sheikh Raman, and it's an honor to represent part of Gwinnett County, one of the most diverse counties in Georgia and home to a significant immigrant population. As you may have guessed, I was not born in this country. I still remember vividly when I first immigrated to the United States during the Iran hostage crisis in the 80s, and being called raghead and to go back home. But luckily for him, I'm still here and be proud to be your state senator. To my fellow immigrants, I understand while hostility and prejudice against us still exist, I want to offer you hope. And after more than 4 decades in this country, I have witnessed the progress we have made. And I know that progress will continue as long as we continue to stand up for one another. Over the last several months, Donald Trump has unleashed federal agents on families and communities across our country. His actions have inflamed tensions, pitted Americans against Americans, and grossly overstepped his authority. He has federalized National Guard members, pulling them away from their families and their jobs to police other Americans without the state's permissions. We have seen masked, armed federal agents rip women out of their cars, throw them into unmarked vehicles, and whisk them away in broad daylight. We have seen agents aim loaded weapons at lawful protesters. We have seen them beat, detain, deport, and even kill Americans. And why? Donald Trump claims he's simply enforcing immigration laws and removing violent criminals. But the reality on the ground tells a very different story. Hardworking immigrants trying to build a life in this country have been terrorized at their jobs, their schools, and their places of worship. Americans and lawful permanent residents have been caught in the crossfire simply for believing that what they are witnessing is wrong, and it is wrong. Donald Trump has normalized the harassment of everyday people and entire communities simply for being a little too brown or for having a little different accent. Today, Democrats are introducing legislation to protect the rights of Georgians. This legislation will prevent National Guard units from being deployed to Georgia without the express permission of Georgia's governor, prohibit federal immigration enforcement without a warrant on school grounds, in places of worship, and in hospitals. What Donald Trump has done to American communities over the last year is sickening. No one should be subjected to the brazen, violent act we have witnessed in recent months. Unleashing law enforcement officers and brave American service members like secret police is simply an un-American.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right.
Is Leader there? I was going to introduce. Is Leader here?
Senator Islam.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's here.
With that,
Senator Islam.
With that, I want to thank my colleagues for standing united in defense of our immigrant community. It's now my honor to introduce
Leader Jones.
to our Leader Jones. I'm sorry, I didn't see you first. I'm sorry. I was looking for you. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Everyone's presence here today is what it looks like when people come together to fight for democracy, to fight for the ideals of this nation. America has struggled mightily to live up to its principles and ideals, but over the last 50-plus years, we have been pushing to achieve those ideals. And although there have been roadblocks and sometimes speed bumps on the way to progress, it always appeared that the march to achieving the ideals of this country would continue. But what we are facing today is not a speed bump against progress. What we're facing today is an attempt to put up a permanent wall through progress. It is an attempt to place a veil of tyranny upon all of us. And to accomplish this, the Trump regime has decided to use the brave men and women of the Guard, of the National Guard. The Guard is here to help. The Guard is always here when we have natural disasters or global pandemics. The Guard is made up of selfless individuals who leave their families to do what? To help us. But the current administration has decided to call these brave men and women not for good, but for political witch hunts. We cannot allow what has occurred across the nation to happen here. Our Guard deserves better. Our communities deserve better. That is why today we are filing, as myself being the principal sponsor, SB 390 to prohibit the armed state forces to come into Georgia without permission of its elected leaders. The Guard should not be abused by a president who wants tyranny and to snatch people off the streets. And make no mistake, other states have also done this. Whether it was Kansas, South Carolina, or even Washington State have enacted these particular laws. We cannot continue to allow the president to abuse the patriotism of our troops. As this regime has sought to build a wall against progress, the progress of achieving America's values and ideals, we must build a wall against him. And the legislation presented here today is a step towards protecting all of Georgia's citizens and making sure that we continue to pursue America's ideals and goals. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am State Senator Nabila Parks. Today, I'm introducing Senate Bill 391, and I want to talk plainly about what this bill does and why it matters to Georgia families. This legislation sets a clear and reasonable standard. Immigration enforcement should not occur in certain sensitive places, like our schools, our hospitals, places of worship, libraries, and family violence shelters. without a judicial warrant. It simply requires lawful process in places where safety and stability matter most. Our schools must be safe places for children, full stop. Kids should be focused on learning, not fear, and parents should be able to drop their children off at school knowing it is a place of stability and not disruption. And no one should get dragged out of their home or workplace without a judicial warrant. That's basic constitutional due process. In Georgia, we believe in freedom and we believe government power should come with limits and accountability. But this is also about affordability. When ICE raids destabilize whole communities, people stop showing up at work. Small businesses lose staff overnight. Construction slows. Healthcare and service industries struggle to stay staffed. That disruption ripples outward. Insurance costs go up across the board. Prices go up. Housing becomes harder to build and harder to afford. And once again, working families are left paying more. If we're serious about lowering our premiums and making Georgia more affordable, we need stability, lawful process, and a stable workforce, not chaos that drives up costs for everyone. Judicial warrants protect rights, they protect our children, and protect Georgia's economy, period. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh McLaren. I serve in the State Senate for North Fulton County. I'm really grateful to the Minority Whip, Senator Kim Jackson, for her leadership on this issue and making sure that the state of Georgia knows Democrats are standing up to this rogue administration. I want to thank the community members who are here today. If you want to see real constraints on this rogue administration and this out-of-control ICE, give us a shout real quick. Last year, Trump passed a budget that put tens of billions of dollars into ICE recruitment and detention facility construction. As a side note, that's why 4 million people are losing their health care. So we can pay for this dramatic expansion of ICE, making it one of the biggest, if not the biggest, federal law enforcement agency with a budget bigger than the FBI, bigger than the federal prison system. And they are rushing to deport as many people as possible, so much so that they offer tens of thousands in signing bonuses to people who are unqualified, untrained, and in some cases probably couldn't get a job as a police officer. Am I right?
Talk about it.
So these people have become rogue agents and thugs, these ICE officials, who think that they can act with utter lawlessness and face no consequences. We have seen ICE detain, arrest U.S. citizens without charge. We have seen ICE raid an apartment building in Chicago at night and zip tie children. We have seen ICE physically assault people who are just protesting or lawfully observing, and we just saw in Minneapolis ICE murder Renee Good.
Shame.
We've all seen the video. Obviously, the officer did what he was not trained to do, which is step in front of the car, escalate when there was no need to escalate, to a woman who said, "I'm not mad at you," and then to kill her in broad daylight and let her die. So it's physical assault, it's false imprisonment, it's murder. Y'all probably agree with me, those are violations of the United States Constitution.
That's right.
And there's two things I want to do with the bill I'm introducing. That's SB 397, which creates a civil cause of action against federal officials who violate constitutional rights. Now that's lawyer speak for accountability and deterrence. When ICE overreaches, they need to face real accountability in courts of law.
Yes. That's right.
But accountability is not necessarily justice, because Renee Good will not get justice, and there's no way to give her justice. Real justice is making sure this never happens in the first place.
That's right.
So it may be no surprise to you that police officers, both local and state, A, have better training, but B, they check themselves before they act, because they know that if they violate constitutional rights, they may face personal liability for their overreach. ICE does not currently face that threat in Georgia, which means they know that if they act unchecked, nothing will happen to them. A personal lawsuit against ICE agents under Georgia law is essential to deterring ICE agents from ever committing these crimes in the first place. So I'm immensely proud to stand with my caucus, with the House representatives who are here, thank you, in saying with one voice in Georgia, repeat after me, no ICE.
No ICE.
No ICE.
No ICE.
No murders.
No murder.
No murders.
No murder.
My name is Josh McLaren. Thank you again.
I am so grateful to be able to stand here. I am the State Senator Kim Jackson, representing the great people of DeKalb County, hundreds and hundreds of immigrants and refugees who have found their home in my backyard, our backyards, friends and family. It's my great honor to stand and be a voice with them. I'm here to introduce to you all my bill, SB 389, the final in our package of Fight Back on ICE bills. Let me tell you just a quick story, because I'm a preacher. Yesterday, a gentleman called me. He's an older man. He didn't tell me exactly how old he was, but his voice cracked just enough for me to know that he had some years under him. And he said, Senator, this is the first time I've ever called Congress. We'll accept that. Senator, it's the first time in my life that I've ever called Congress, but I'm calling because it's scary out there. I'm calling because it's bad. I thought that things would be better for my grandchildren, but it is scary out there. Senator, I'm calling because even with the Klan, even though they wore masks, at least it was on their own dime. But there are men out there wearing masks who are doing so on our dime. Our tax dollars are paying for them to wear masks and to go out into our communities, snatch people away and take them to places where we know not of. Senator, I'm calling for the first time because I'm scared. I'm scared that this world will not be better for my grandchildren than it was for me. So friends, that's why we're here. We are here to call for no more masks for ICE. It's time to unmask ICE. You've heard it from my colleagues already. We have men who are unidentifiable, roaming our streets, snatching up people and taking them, and then they are able to commit crimes and hide because we don't even know their identity. So my bill will call for ICE agents to take off their mask, to show their face. We have men who show up in tactical equipment, but nothing that identifies them as federal agents. I don't know if they are a part of a vigilante group that's just deputized themselves to go and steal my friend, or if they're an agent of ICE. So my bill demands that they put on a badge, that they have something on them that tells us undeniably that they are a federal agent. My friends, it's time to unmask ICE. I am introducing this bill for my constituents, for the brown and black folks who are now walking around carrying papers to guarantee that then when they are stopped, they can say that they are actually a citizen. I am carrying this bill for my neighbors, for my friends, for my constituents who are afraid to leave their homes and have other people dropping off their kids at school because they don't know if they can get home. I'm dropping this bill today for the congregation in Tucker, where a man went to worship on a Sunday like he had time and time again, only to have himself called out of church and taken away in front of his own children. I'm dropping this bill today for all of the children who now grieve because their parents have either been deported or are somewhere in a detention center that they don't even know where it is, or they've simply disappeared because they're afraid that ICE might find them. Today, we are calling for my ICE to be unmasked, to end the terror, to end the fear. I believe that we can create a state where every person who lives here can walk around without fear of a vigilante taking them away without knowing who they are. I believe that we can create a state where we can see our law enforcement officers like we can today and know who they are and know whether or not we can trust them or find them if something goes wrong. And so I am proud, my friends, to introduce SB 389, a bill that calls on us to unmask ICE and to make sure that they wear a badge so that we know if they are who they say they are. With that, my friends, thank you. With that, my friends, I welcome questions from our press. So the question is, some people have said that the masks are necessary because of doxing, that it protects the agents. Well, let me be clear. There are elected officials standing here today who have been doxed. There are elected officials standing right here in front of you who have been swatted. Elected officials who know what it is to have people, because they can see our face, come after us. And you know what we've done about that? We've passed legislation to protect us. We've passed legislation to protect all law enforcement agents from being doxxed. We've taken care of them. We have protected them, and now we are asking for them to do the same and to protect our citizens by showing their face. We've been here. If our brothers in the gray hats can stand up and show their face, then so can ICE. If we can stand out here as elected officials who introduce laws that ultimately end up in some people getting locked up and others getting free, then they can show their face too. We have already passed the legislation to protect them. This is not necessary. It is cowardice. Yeah. It is cowardice. And it's time to unmask ICE. Yeah. Yeah. Are there other questions? Sorry, Jeff.
National Guard bill, of course, Governor Kemp took great
Mr. Leader.
back from the District of Columbia.
Well, the way the bill actually would work is it has to be with his permission. So obviously, if it has his permission, this bill here is actually more geared towards actually bringing people within the state. So you actually had a couple of states who've done it both ways, whether bringing out-of-state National Guard people within the state or actually preventing their governor from sending people outside of the state unless they have his permission. The key thing is always permission of your elected official. So the key thing, no matter how you look at it, is even with the type of bill that you're talking about, is the president himself cannot just send National Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In this particular situation, if you had the permission of the governor, it still would fit. So we actually would hope, whether we're talking about bringing in or actually going out, that the governor of this state would say, you know what, I'm not going to be part of this tyranny that's actually taking place. That is the key thing that you would hope, whether it's bringing someone in or actually sending our Guard troops out. I would not be part of the tyranny that's actually trying to be taking place by this administration. Basically, it is the governor would be the voice of that. The governor would be the voice of that, correct.
I can answer real quick. Unfortunately, the question is this complaint about all law enforcement or just federal immigration enforcement? We are keeping our focus squarely on federal immigration enforcement. We're grateful for the law enforcement in Georgia that abides by much higher standards of conduct than ICE has proven itself to be. And let's be clear about why this is happening. The Trump administration has adopted this Silicon Valley move fast and break things mentality. And the way that they've funded ICE, the way they've built up the organization, is not deliberate. It is not with any compassion towards the citizenry or professional standards of conduct. And so I think, culture creates these outcomes. When you see that ICE is not being held accountable from the top levels of government, they're trying to build it up to basically be this brute force that terrorizes citizens. We say a lot around here, that's the point. This is not just an accident. This is the design of this administration's policy on immigration, is to terrorize communities.
And I would also second that, but also go a little bit further. The focus, of course, is on ICE, but at the same time, the larger focus really is about actually keeping our rights within the nation. That's the larger focus. The larger focus is actually allowing this president to use armed forces, to allowing this president to use the weight of the federal government to actually repress citizens of this country. That is really the larger focus. The direct focus, of course, is on ICE, is on federal law enforcement, as Senator McLaren has stated. But our larger focus is the fact that we are actually facing a true crisis as far as freedom is concerned in this nation.
Can you help us understand how you envision these bills' path to the governor's desk? I can't imagine you're expecting much Republican buy-in.
Yeah, the question is, what is the path to the governor's desk for this slate of bills? To be clear, on its surface, in terms of policy, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle should agree with us. It's good policy for us to say that you can't bring in a National Guard without the governor's sign-off. In fact, they have a Republican governor. They ought to trust him. It's good policy. It's good policy to say that for our public safety, you should unmask ICE. It's good policy to say that certain places are protected, that sanctuaries exist, that places where children are being dropped in off should be protected. That's good policy. The problem is the path to the governor's desk is not about policy, it's about politics. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are beholden to a man in the White House who does not care about good policy and does not care about people. So we understand that the road to the governor's desk is quite limited. That path is narrow. But we also stand here and hope that common sense and good policy might persuade a few of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to stand up and to resist and to be a part of good policy making on behalf of the good people of Georgia. With that, friends, I thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.